All right, typical summer morning here in coastal California, Northern California that is. Lots of fog, lots of atmosphere. I had another location in mind today, but as I was driving along, I thought maybe today would be a good day to explore a new spot. So I am just south of Half Moon Bay, and there's some trails that head out to the beach. So I'm just kind of exploring. But I really do, I don't know if you can see behind me, there's just so much atmosphere. This fog is really creating an opportunity to explore atmospheric perspective. I've got these trees right here. I'm not crazy about them, especially because they're about the same height as the mountain in the background. I prefer the shapes of the eucalyptus trees, so I may take these eucalyptus trees and put them here and make them a little higher than the mountain. This sort of light colored grass could be an opportunity to lead into the painting. Might compose it like that, where, you know, the mountains and the trees are kind of in the top third. That's the idea. Okay, so I'm gonna have to work quickly here because the light is changing, and I don't, like I mentioned, I don't really see a composition that appeals to me. So I'm gonna have to make things up, which is really part of the fun for me anyway. Maybe this could be up higher. Like that. Like I said, I'm going to make these into eucalyptus, so the shape of them is going to be a little bit different. I'll maybe have a high one at the third, like a high tree right here. And then, again, some kind of random shapes along the top. Maybe another one that's kind of higher over here. This is going to be really dark along the bottom of the trees. Maybe another little straggler right about here. I don't want to go into the middle of the canvas or the panel. There's some light yellow, this grass. I can use that as a lead-in going in this direction. But then I'll need something over here to stop the eye. So maybe I'll have something on a different, bottom of the trees are about here. Maybe I'll have something over here that's a little bit lower. Smaller trees, maybe distant trees like this, with maybe a taller one, you know, just kind of keep it random. This tree here will break up this line so that we're not just running right off. Kind of liking the motion here. Now in the foreground, I can keep this really loose and sketchy. There is a trail here too, so maybe adding like some of the trail. I'm not sure if I want to use that or not. Okay, so these are going to be trees here, trees off in the distance here. So these trees here will have more contrast and more saturation. These will be bluer and cooler. And then there's also some like shrubs along here. I'm kind of liking this so far. I'm liking the feeling of it. I just dipped into alizarin crimson by accident. Yikes. Who knows? That could be fun. Maybe sometime I'll try to do my sketch in alizarin, see what happens. There's some interesting patterns on the mountains, but I'm not going to get into those right now. I've got to resolve this foreground and figure out what I'm doing here. Maybe it could be good to add some bushes in the foreground to, again, stop the eye going off this way. The trail kind of goes like that. And then we'll have the trail maybe disappear into the grass. Let's see. So there'd be a bush here and a bush here, foreground. And Maybe another one of these sort of bushes, like along right around. No, I don't like that. Too close to the center. Maybe a grouping of bushes here. And these are going to have a lot more saturation. These would be like here. Now, how the trail works in, I don't know if I'm going to put the path in. I don't know if I'm going to do that. I kind of want to. Kind of want to lead it back like this way. How would I do that? Like this. And then it would disappear into the... I might lose this path. I don't know that it's necessary. We'll see. I could always add it later. I'm starting with the sky color because I want to make sure, I want to key the painting to the sky. So this is the lightest, you know, the lightest value is the sky. There's some grass in the foreground that's pretty light too, but I'm going to start with this. And once I get all the colors on, and things are roughed in, I can start fine-tuning and making artistic choices or creative choices with the colors. But that's a good start. Okay, and for my darkest darks, I'm using my typical mix of alizarin crimson and ultramarine. Even though this color is not exactly what I'm seeing, I know it's really nice to have those red undertones. It's just such a pleasing sort of color to work with, this mixture, this kind of purple mixture. And it looks really good when you get inside. It's not overwhelming. And then if you lay greens on top of it, it's just very complementary to have that, the nice, you know, red undertones, the complementary undertones. And I've also mixed up a warm gray for the distant mountains. Obviously a little darker in value. And then the ones in the distance, I'm going to add, all right, and these ones in the distance, I'm going to add a little bit of blue and a little bit of white to this same mixture. Actually, a little bit more, to really push them back. Yeah, see, that's still too dark in value. I want to push those back more. The value shift between these two is too great. Also, too, when I get this indoors, this is going to seem really dark. Now, obviously, I can lighten up the sky, which I probably will. Just adding almost pure titanium white. It's dark in here. Definitely some dark areas in here. These bushes in the foreground are definitely dark. Okay, so to mix up the grass color, I started with white and yellow ochre. And to gray it down, I'm going to use the complement, which is dioxazine purple, because obviously it's a gray day out here. And so it's not like a super saturated yellow. Have this side come down a little straighter. And this one maybe go off a little bit like this. Some people don't, maybe, wouldn't enjoy painting in this way, kind of where you're making things up and moving things around. But for me, I love this. I mean, it's a great way to learn about composition when you're just moving things around and experimenting. Yeah, I don't like this straight line right here. That's a problem. I got a couple options. I could put like some kind of distant bushes or something to kind of break that up, like that. See how that's already better, because now you don't have that line racing off. And the same would be true over here. I've noticed that the paths tend to be like kind of bluish in color. It's interesting. I mean, it's sand. It's kind of like a sand, but it sort of has a lot of blue in it. Okay, I'm feeling like if these are going to be eucalyptus trees, they need to be bigger. They're not big enough. So maybe if I bring them down a little lower. And then bring them up as high as possible. Okay, so to be honest, the composition does have issues. It has problems. I'm going to push ahead because I'm going to lose the light. And the primary idea here was to kind of show atmospheric perspective and also how I think about composition. So I'm going to try to solve some of the compositional problems as I go along. But first thing, I'm starting to notice more blue in the sky right now. So I'm going to kind of add some color. Again, using this as my lightest light and then keying everything to the sky, more or less. I want to keep, on a foggy day, the darks are even really, they're a lot lighter than you think. And I really like the idea of a sketch, something that's really, what's the word? Just kind of really roughly done. Warm area above the mountain, I'm just going to kind of suggest that with a little bit of titanium white and cad yellow medium. Sky is a little darker and bluer up above. I don't want to make it too dark, but I'll darken it a little bit so that the light kind of, they say you paint your lights with your darks. So by darkening this area here, it's going to make the light over the mountain kind of pop out more. I want this mountain to be bluer, so, and a little bit lighter in value. Although, yeah, especially along especially along the ridge line here. A lot of times, like, the mountain will be dark along the top, but then, you know, as it approaches, like, say, this other mountain where it's overlapping, there's going to be, it'll be lighter. So I'll add a little bit of dark to the top. There's trees along the top too, so kind of maybe, but decent separation there. Very subtle. Could maybe push that separation a little because indoors that's going to disappear. So we'll exaggerate that. And when I'm trying to decide on values, I'm squinting, you know, just to really accentuate the value shifts. All right, that looks pretty good. Now I'll come back in with some lights up here and maybe change the shape of the top of this. Also really blurring the line, you know, along the top here. We'll also push it back. Getting a decent fog effect, which is cool. I think the thing I always want to stress is this is play, you know, and it should be fun. And if, you know, my goal is not a good painting necessarily. If I get one, that's great. When I do plein air, it's to learn and to grow as a painter. So, you know, I'm constantly taking chances and moving things around. You know, even if just today I get a nice effect, a nice like value and color balance between just this area, if that's all that works out, well then maybe I'll learn something, you know. Okay, these are, I like the red just because I like the color, but they are definitely more green, so I am going to try to add green to them. I'm not crazy about the shape of them. I kind of want these ones to go higher. One of the hardest things with plein air painting or landscape painting is just keeping things really irregular looking. You know, we tend to want to order things. Value of that is good. Strange thing, whenever I'm in doubt, when I'm mixing a color, seems like if I add alizarin crimson to it, it solves my problem. Strange. Yeah, those orange pops in the distance are probably not, they're probably not good for me. They're probably not what I'm looking for. There are some distant trees along the base of the mountains. Need to be lighter in value. That'll eliminate some of that orange. Maybe I'll leave some of it though. Okay, cool. Still a bit too warm. Also noticing some like maybe redder tones closer. As we did up here, mountain is darker on the top. There tends to be more atmosphere closer to the ground. So I'm adding a little bit of alizarin, of course, the go-to solve all color, lightening the value, keeping this line irregular. That seems good. All right, so I'm gonna lose the light really quickly here, so I'm going for it. I don't like that. I'm not crazy about the way that is. I'm going to carve that out later, but I'm just adding some, obviously some greens in here. I want to keep the reds, and then I'm going to add sky holes as well. Maybe keep it darker and denser over to the left. This is really dense, so let's see if I experiment with some sky holes in here, how that would work. get drastic. Reduce this. I don't want it too close. Let's get random. Let's make bold moves, people. Bold. Maybe there's some. Alright, I like those shapes better. I'm going to add some blue in here. And why? Because, I don't know, maybe nice to tie in the sky and also suggest the path going off. Maybe even a little more blue. And again, we want to break up this line along here so it's not too perfect. There's some kind of reddish plants in the distance. I'm going to use those to kind of break up that line. I like the idea of having a little bit of warmth here to draw the eye towards this area. Also maybe some light colored light colored grass that goes off like this. Definitely some really nice warm greens in the foreground on these plants here in the foreground. So I'm going to work with that to kind of, obviously the warmer colors will come forward. Obviously the foreground's got to be resolved, but I really like, there's some nice things going on in the distance. So I'll work on it for a few more minutes and then we'll take it back to the studio for a look. All right, so I'm just gonna leave it here. This is new subject matter for me, so I'm still just trying to figure out how to approach it. But it was really fun playing around with atmospheric perspective. I do feel like these trees here definitely feel pushed back, and obviously the mountains in the background here. Yeah, more reds in the grass in the background and more yellows up front. And then also too, I like the irregular edges of the path. You know, that's something I always look for, is not to, you know, to try to make that not too tidy. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this plein air demo. Let me know what you think in the comments. Big shout out to my Patreon supporters. It's the Patreon support that allows me to keep making these videos. If you're interested in pitching in, there's a Patreon link in the description below. Other than that, stay creative, and I'll see you guys in the next video.